Same thing when the news dropped when Kevin Conroy, the voice of Batman, passed away with a what I read was not a long battle with cancer. It was a 6 month, like he had been diagnosed like 6 months earlier and ended up passing away. So it was very sudden. It was very quick. It did not it was not. It was almost akin to like the Chadwick Boseman, where we didn't even know he had cancer. I know he didn't look great though. I think from a physical standpoint, I felt like I wasn't as shocked when I heard that, because it kind of made sense just seeing some photos of him and some pictures of him in recently, to where you kind of say, okay, I guess something happened. But other than that, I mean, even that, to be honest, very, very shocking to hear. Now you did get to interview him multiple times, so talk to us about your experiences with him and why he was your definitive Batman.
Well, I mean, if you want the why, people can, go to the article that I wrote that Screen Crush did. And I poured my love of Kevin Conroy into that article that I wrote about why he was the best Batman, or the ultimate Batman to fans, especially 90s kids. I mean, I was introduced to Batman, just the Batman character, through the cartoon. Like, I was a kid, I wasn't reading comic books at that time, and I want to give Kevin credit that because of the cartoon, I did. I went and watched the movies because of the cartoon, and that was at the Michael Keaton Batman I went and watched after I was exposed to the animated cartoon Batman. And and Kevin's been Batman. He's played Batman, I think, for over 30 years at this point, and he didn't just stop at the animated series that ages like a fine wine. It's nice that you can watch a cartoon and get something different as an adult out of it. But he went on to voice Batman in the animated series. He briefly appeared as Batman in the Superman animated series. There was Batman Beyond, which was a great cartoon in general. He played an old Bruce Wayne. Great concept and story. The writing team and the production team of these cartoons was great. The Justice League animated series, which is ironically my favorite version of Kevin Conroy's Batman, only because he's allowed to have more flavors. Like, Batman animated series was very noir. And here he was allowed to be, in the Justice League animated series, he was allowed to be hilarious, sarcastic, vulnerable. He sang at one point. He had a beautiful singing jazz voice. And he got to interact, and you got to see him just be a boss, like the character of Batman, be a boss against all of these gods, all of these people with superpowers. And he just has a super bank account, and the fact that he's really brilliant and has a good detective. And gosh, and then he went on to voice Batman in the Arkham games, which were wildly popular. I think in 3 of them. He did 3: Batman Arkham Asylum, Batman Arkham City, and I forget the 3rd Batman. I'm sorry, Kevin. But yeah, I got to interview him a couple of times, and he was always very kind, soft-spoken. His poor handler was like, can you try and keep your questions to be as simple as possible? Because Kevin felt the need to want to answer a question fully and completely, which would take time, and they would run behind. And he definitely had it's in the article that I wrote, or the video essay that I wrote, where he had a very firm opinion that Batman should not kill from a character perspective. And there's that sound bite in there that Screen Crush put in of me interviewing him about that. And I thought it was just so touching. And Kevin was also somebody that Batman fans would ask his opinion on current live action Batmans and what he thought of them, and what, he also was another one that would have long lines, and he would hug people. He was part of the Comic-Con community. People would get teary. And then before he died, in Pride Month, he actually released a Finding Batman comic that was incredibly personal. And it was about him admitting, he finally came out as gay. And so now he's the first openly gay actor to portray Batman, and he's ironically the most iconic one. And so I don't want to keep rambling on, but he was always so kind, and he loved to give hugs, and he understood that if it wasn't for his fans, he would not have had the career that he had. I don't know if did you guys really quickly, and I'll pass it on to you guys. Did you guys hear of the 9/11 story that he did?
I
No.
have.
Yeah, Hassan, would you like to tell it? So I'm not the
No,
only
you can do it. You do it. You know.
It was really touching. So when 9/11 happened, he went down to volunteer and help, and people found out, like the first responders and
Sure.
and the firefighters and the police cops found out that he was in the kitchens, I think, serving food to all of them, and people found out that Batman was there, and somebody asked him to like do the "I am vengeance, I am and I am," and he did that, and people just got emotional about it. And then I even heard that there was a firefighter that came up to him and said, "I became Batman because of you." And he just gave away a lot of Batman toys to the firefighters to kind of give to their kids and stuff like that. He was very involved. It was really touching.
No, he was a fine actor, and he was a fine human being, and he'll be missed. And as you mentioned, you were lucky enough to have interviewed him several times, which is great, and met him. I also got the opportunity at Wizard World Philadelphia 2019, and so we'd love to, in tribute, just run the interview one more time so you can kind of hear it. And apologies, there's a giant crowd around him, so you're going to hear a lot of crowd noise. Our producer Erin did her best, and I think she did a great job of getting as much of that crowd noise out of the way as possible. But obviously, that was the situation. So right now, our Kevin Conroy interview, the voice of Batman.
How does it feel to be the iconic voice of Batman, the only voice?
It's a job I kind of stumbled into back in '91.
Yeah.
And when you book a job as an actor, all you know is the few episodes they signed you for. You have no idea that the show will be picked up, or that show will turn into another show. I mean, Batman the Animated Series became Batman and Robin, that became Justice League, that became Batman Beyond, then the Arkham games, and the direct-to-video movie. And it's 28 years later, and I'm still doing it. I mean, it's unbelievable.
It's amazing, too. We're at the Wizard World Philadelphia show, and Fridays tend to be slow days, yet your line continually, every Wizard show I see you at, your line is always jam-packed. How does that feel to have such an impact with the fans?
I feel so lucky to have played a character that has such a passionate fan following. Fans love Batman so much. They have such a personal relationship with him. And when you're the voice of an animated character, it's like you live in people's imaginations. And so you're living in a very intimate place with them.
Yeah.
And they feel like they know me.
Yeah.
You know, they approach me like I'm an old friend. People come up and throw their arms around me.
Yeah.
Like I'm a family member.
Yeah.
And it's a humbling experience to know that people feel that connected to you.
Yeah. What was your connection to Batman before you got the job? Were you a big fan, a casual fan, no fan at all?
I had a very conservative Catholic childhood. We didn't have comic books. But as an adolescent, I got turned on to the Batman series with Adam West. So that was my first introduction to Batman, which is not really true Batman.
Yeah.
You know, it was a wonderful show. I
Yeah.
love Adam. They had a great guest stars,
Yeah.
amazing guest stars.
Yeah.
But it was done like almost a cartoony kind of version. You know, Zam, Pow, Wow. You know, it was like almost a Warhol version of Batman.
Sure.
And when I met him through this show, he said, "No, we love Adam, but that's not what we're doing." And I had to kind of come up to speed on the Legends of the Dark Knight. You know, the real, true Batman legacy.
Yeah.
And that's totally different than what Adam West was doing. So I've really fallen in love with this character the same way the audience has. He's so ennobling.
Yeah.
His motives are so pure. He never kills, you know?
We are a big fan of segues on the show. That was a segue into my next question. What did you think about the idea that Batman kills now? Or the I guess, what would be the Batman versus Superman style Batman?
It's taking it into a new realm that would never have existed in the animated world.
Yeah.
That just wasn't part of our universe.
Yeah.
And I love the fact that it wasn't.
Yeah.
He didn't kill. He arrested people and he put them in Arkham.
Yeah.
Which is why Arkham Asylum was so perfect for those video games, because every, evil villain in the world was in there.
Yep.
It definitely does cross the line to have him killed in the new movies.
Yeah.
I don't know how I feel about it. It's not what we would have done.
Do you feel, it's 20, you said 28 years, it's almost an attachment to this character. When the different iterations come out, is there a sense of ego or is there a sense of pride? What do you make when you see other Batmans on film or in, not really on television, but on film?
I know the trick of playing the character.
Yeah.
Getting the dual identity of Bruce Wayne and Batman. And not a lot of actors get it right. Some do. But most are either better at Bruce Wayne or better at Batman. And so that's the way I always look at it. I do it from someone who's had to approach those dual identities.
What do you feel is your number one memory of both being on screen, not on screen, but doing the voice of the Batman on the cartoon show, and then your favorite in-person moment? What's your big highlight memory that you can think of?
My favorite show was Mask of the Phantasm.
Okay.
It's a great recording.
Yeah.
And Perchance to Dream of the episodic shows. I love that episode. My favorite off or out of the sound booth experience of Batman, I think, is probably coming to Comic-Cons. I had no idea this was going to evolve.
Yeah.
Who knew that these were going to happen?
Mm-hmm.
And they've taken over. They're everywhere. And the chance to interact with the audience. When you're a voice actor, you don't get that feedback that you get from a stage performance.
Yeah.
Part of the reason I became an actor was because of that thrill of being on stage every night and feeling the energy of the audience. There's a real connection that happens. You don't get that in a booth.
Yeah.
The closest I get to it is coming to these.
Yeah.
So I love coming to these and meeting people, hearing how much the character meant to me.
Yeah. Well, like I said, it's a truly an honor and pleasure to speak with you. You were a voice in my youth as well too. So thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Welcome back to the Rogue Wave podcast. That was again an short interview, but was really awesome for me being able to actually talk to the voice of Batman all those years ago. So our condolences go out to his friends and family, and that is our tribute, obviously, to such an iconic voice in the industry. Bevin, thank you so much for joining us. It was. Hearing you talk about him also, though, it's so authentic, the impact that he had on you. And I'm sure that is just echoed in the many fans, of him and his voice as well, too.
Yeah. Hassan, I'm sorry I did all the talking. I would love to hear if you had any stories of Kevin Conroy or what he was for you.
I don't have any particular stories with him, but look, the animated series was just, it's a powerhouse. And I became a Batman fan, like a devotee Batman fan, not so much because of the animated series, but because my uncle was an incredible DC Comics fan, and he kind of latched onto that animated series like it was the air in his lungs. And so we would watch it together. And that's kind of what really made Batman my number one superhero, all the way to the point where I, no need to be negative, but there are recent depictions of Batman that I have not appreciated because it was not reminiscent enough of Conroy's contribution. So I don't know. I don't necessarily say, me personally, that he is the number one Batman. He is definitely in the top 3, in my opinion, and he has achieved like Christopher Reeve status as one of like the permanent fixtures, and it is tremendous loss. And his voice was just, his voice sends chills down your spine when you don't expect to hear it. Like when it, in some of the other ancillary materials, like what Bevin said about the games, when you realize that, oh man, they're using Conroy's voice for these games, and it's like, well, that is Batman now. This is definitely Batman. Yeah. So it nothing I can say is really going to accentuate the contribution that he made in that, and it is like it's ridiculous the loss of not having him around anymore. I did think that last 2 times I saw him, I thought he was looking a little frail, so I was kind of worried about it. So this didn't totally shock me, but it was pretty devastating regardless, there's just not enough to say about it. I just recently cycled through the animated series again, like maybe a year and a half ago, and it's still, 30 years later, it holds up. It's still one of the best pieces of it's one of the best pieces of comic book animation, serialized animation storytelling I've ever seen. It's just fantastic, and he is the whole thing. He's not even 90% of it. He's like 99.9% of that whole thing. So yeah,
absolutely. Well, that is our show for tonight. Please do comment in the comment field some more. Let us know your thoughts and your memories of what his voice meant to you. We'd be happy to talk. I'm sure Bevin will respond in kind as well too. And next week we got Andor just wrapped. We will dive into that season finale of the Star Wars series, and we have Alex Suarez, director of the new horror film that is coming out in theaters very, very soon. We actually got a screener for it, so it's gonna be very exciting. We'll be able to check it out as well. And that's it. That's our Rogue Wave. Happy Thanksgiving, everybody.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Rogue Wave. Hi guys, Mike Dolce here from the Rogue Wave podcast. If you like this video, please feel free to like, share, subscribe, all that fun stuff. It really helps us out. Leave a comment, let us know what you'd like to see in future episodes, and tune in every Wednesday night, 8 p.m. Eastern, for a brand new episode of the Rogue Wave podcast.